Hi there. I'm Sue Johnson, developer of emotionally focused therapy, or EFT for couples. The EFT model is now taught all over the world and achieves the best results at the end of therapy and at follow-up of any model of couple therapy. Our interventions are based on the revolutionary new science of adult attachment. This science has at last cracked the code of love and offers EFT therapists a map so that we can go to the heart of the matter and shape the bonding interactions that make love whole and make it last. But shaping new interactions between distressed partners often feels like trying to play a violin in the middle of a war zone. This is one of the tasks that makes couple therapy feel like a real challenge. If you're going to set up new conversations that can gradually redefine a distressed relationship, you have to know what to do when these conversations start to go wrong. So I'm going to tell you about two simple techniques that EFT therapists use to make sure that shaping positive, more connected conversations goes smoothly. And they are called Slice It Thinner and Catch the Bullet. In EFT, we help people access new, softer emotions and then distill a clear emotional message to send to their partner. But sometimes, when we ask a client to share this new, softer emotional message directly with their partner, they cannot. We help this person by simply accepting their reluctance and then reflecting this difficulty. We switch from sharing vulnerability to simply sharing how hard it is to begin to risk and share. We slice this risk of being vulnerable thinner for them. So Pete tells me, it feels weird. I don't want to turn and tell Sally about this. She might not like it. See me as weak. It won't work. The therapist says, so Sally has listened to us talking about this, how you get anxious around her anger, and then you shut down to deal with this anxiety. But it's too hard right here. It feels risky to turn towards her and tell her this directly. And he nods. So then, can you tell her, please? Somehow it's too hard. It doesn't feel safe to tell you to your face about how anxious I get when you get angry. Pete does this by revealing first how scared he is of sharing his fears. He begins to risk letting Sally into his inner world and to help her see his withdrawal from her in a new light. The second block to sharing new interactions occurs when Pete's partner, Sally, cannot take in, trust, or respond to Pete's new revelations. She reverts back to blaming or discounting responses, which are part of this couple's cycle of distress and distance. So in session, when Pete is really able to share how his fear of rejection by Sally comes up and overwhelms him, and the possibility for a new, open, empathic conversation is right there, Sally says, I don't believe you. You're just being a good client here. And she turns to me and says, Pete is just a cold person. Ouch. Did you feel the bullet? So I might say, can we stop here a moment? What just happened here? I will reflect the whole interaction where Pete risked sharing, but Sally had a hard time tuning into his message. I will repeat Pete's message at least 4 times to make it explicit and help Sally begin to hear it through the buzz of her own anger and hurt. I also validate and normalize that it's hard for Sally to hear this unfamiliar message from her partner. So I say, So it's really hard for you to hear Pete when he says. You usually make sense of his behavior by telling yourself that he's simply unfeeling. So then this message from him doesn't fit at all. You usually tell yourself he just doesn't care about your upset. So now when he says, it's hard to take that in. It's hard to imagine that there's this softer side of Pete and that he means it when he says, when he tells you. But your brain says that this cannot be real. You've been so hurt in this relationship. Yes, I understand. You are just not used to this message that he's afraid of your anger. It's strange. It's unfamiliar. Sally agrees with me. So I ask her, can you please tell him? It's hard to really hear you when you say this to me because the therapist has protected Pete from being discounted when he risks opening up and encouraged Sally to begin to struggle with her ability to see Pete's vulnerability and respond to it. In every session of EFT, small, successful moments of reach and respond begin to de-escalate negative patterns of interaction and build moments of safe connection that later will flower into what we call hold me tight conversations. Conversations that build a more secure bond. The kind of bond we are all longing for. The kind of bond that we all need.